Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, all praises, honor, and the glory shall go to Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahushai, Ba'asham, Makakwadash, Brakatham. Double honor shall go to apostles, elders, and bishops, a great millstone to continue to teach and to rule well. Shalom to the Akims, a great millstone of like-minded camps and individuals who continue to teach as one body, who continue to be out on the highways and byways, risking their lives for the greater good. Shalom to the sincere Aquats, who are continuously learning in silence, as the Holy Scriptures have commanded for you to do so. And also shalom to the true believers and subscribers of this true gospel, for this should be considered a true blessing from the higher power. This is Azariah Gabar, representing the King is Coming channel, back at it with another lesson for edification purposes. Okay, so what I'm going to embark on, Abaratazah, today is Esau's continuing attempts to limit our movements. Okay? That's what we're facing in these last days, in these last times. And this is biblical, of course, all right? He's come up with every single directive, if you will, on how to limit our movement in society, all right? So what you see here on the screen, you got this female. Her YouTube channel goes by the name of Car Coach Reports. So her YouTube channel brings out all kinds of articles relating to automotive situations, okay? So the title for this video for today will be Carbon Lockdowns. All right? I'll repeat this. Carbon lockdowns. Because like I just mentioned, this is where Esau Edom is heading. Because remember, back in the C-19 era, you had that lockdown, right? So this is another form of lockdown that I'm going to show you. So the title for this video is Some States Make Laws to Limit How Many Miles You Can Drive. Okay? So before I play this video, as always, fair use of the 1976 Copyright Act. For this video, strictly for education and edification purposes only. I'm not making a dime off this video. You heard? So I'm going to play this video in its entirety. Then, Abaratazah, Lord willing, pull up some precepts, as always, to back up what I'm saying. You heard? So without any further ado, let's go.
To limit miles people can drive because of climate change. You heard that correctly. Massachusetts lawmakers are once again at the center of national debate over climate policy and personal mobility. And this time, the issue hits close to home for anyone who relies on a car to go to work or to live life. Massachusetts Senate Bill 2246, formerly titled the Freedom to Move Act, has advanced out of the Joint Committee for Telecommunications, Utilities, and Energy and is now heading to the State Senate Ways and Means Committee. Supporters describe it as forward-looking climate initiative. Critics see it as a step toward government-managed travel. That does sound more accurate, but either way, the bill raises important questions about how far states should go in shaping how much, how often, and how freely people drive. That sounds much like the World Economic Forum, and they want to limit your freedom. But at its...
So you heard what she said. And the key word is freely. Okay? So like I mentioned, this is Esau's attempt to limit people's freedoms in these last days. All right? And let's be real. He ain't fooling us. And when I say us, I mean the 1/3 of the hopeful elect of Yasharallah. Because this climate has already been destroyed from a long time ago. Okay? The only way it's going to ever be replenished to how it should be is when Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahushua Mashiach, make his triumphant return and cleanse this earth through the fire, through those nuclear missiles, those ICBMs. This climate is already destroyed. And the likes of Bill Gates, or Kill Gates, he's continuing to spray chemtrails in the atmosphere. So the damage is already done. Let's continue.
4. Senate Bill 2246 does not impose a direct limit on how many miles an individual can drive. There is no odometer check, no mileage cap per driver, and no new fines or taxes written into the bill. Instead, the legislation directs the state to set targets for reducing total vehicle miles traveled, commonly known as VMT, across Massachusetts. These targets would be incorporated into the transportation planning, infrastructure investment, and long-term emission strategies. Transportation is the largest source of greenhouse gas emissions in Massachusetts, so they claim, as in many states. But from that perspective, lawmakers are arguing that the bill simply aligns transportation policy with existing climate mandates, which I thought we were done with, but apparently not in the state of Massachusetts. The state has already legally binding emissions reduction goals, and supporters say it's impossible to meet those goals without addressing how much people drive. And this is where SB 2246 comes in. They argue it's about planning, not punishment, and about expanding alternatives rather than restricting choices. I think it's about restricting choices, if you ask me personally. The bill also establishes an advisory council and requires state agencies, including the Massachusetts Department of Transportation, to consider VMT reduction when developing projects and allocating funds. In theory, this means more emphasis on public transit, transit-oriented development, walking and biking infrastructure, and land use policies designed to shorten commutes. Remember, it does get cold there in the winter, and I don't see people walking and using bikes on a regular basis unless you live close to work. But who knows, we're talking about the state of Massachusetts. But supporters emphasize that the legislation does not ban cars, yet, restricting vehicle ownership or mandating lifestyle changes. They say it simply provides a frame.
She's right. Yet. Because this is about banning cars too. Listen. When I used to live in New York City, where I was originally born and raised, they put in the congestion pricing in New York City. They implemented that, where in order to enter into Manhattan, you had to pay a fee. Each and every time, each day that you go into Manhattan, all right, you had to pay a fee. And listen, when I used to live in New York City, I owned vehicles, and I know how very difficult it is to own a vehicle in NYC. From the ridiculous parking tickets to the ridiculous alternate side parking regulations. And then parking itself is a premium. Okay? So I know, I lived that life. All right? So what their MO is to try to, discourage people from owning vehicles down there in New York City. All right? So now other cities and municipalities are following this same course. You heard? Let's continue.
For giving residents more options. I love how they word this. However, the practical implications deserve closer examination, particularly for residents outside the state's urban core. In Greater Boston, where transit access is relatively dense, reducing car trips may be achievable for some commuters. In suburban and rural parts of the state, the reality is very different. Many residents drive long distances to work because there's no viable transit alternatives. Families juggle school, childcare, sports, medical appointments, and work across multiple towns. Well, that could be a problem. Small business depends on vehicles for deliveries, service calls, and daily operations. For these drivers, driving less is not a choice, but a constraint imposed by geography and infrastructure. Critics worry that while SB 2246 does not directly cap individual mileage today, it creates the policy foundation for future restrictions. And once the statewide VMT reduction targets are established, pressure will mount to meet them. And that pressure could influence everything from road funding and parking availability to congestion pricing, zoning decisions, and data collection on driver behavior. And we have covered this before on our channel.
She just echoed what I just said, congestion pricing. And again, all these tactics are by design in order to keep us limited and confined. So make it easier for this government to track us down. You heard?
Without explicit mandates, policy signals matter. When reducing driving becomes a formal state objective, personal mobility inevitably becomes a variable to be managed. There is also the question of trust and execution. Massachusetts has struggled for years to maintain and modernize its public transportation system, and the MBTA's well-documented reliability issues have undermined confidence among riders and taxpayers alike. Promising expanded transit options while existing systems remain fragile leaves many residents skeptical that alternatives to driving will materialize quickly or inequitably. Planning goals, no matter how well-intentioned, do not move people to work on time when trains are delayed and routes are completely unavailable. From a policy standpoint, SB 2246 reflects a broader national trend. States and cities across the country are experimenting with VMT, and that reduction is about climate strategy encouraged by federal guidance and funding priorities. The concept is rooted in the idea that cleaner vehicles alone are not enough, and the total driving must decline to meet long-term emissions targets. And that's where you are restricted. Whether that assumption holds as vehicle technology evolves, including hybrids, plug-in hybrids, and increasingly efficient internal combustion engines, well, that remains an open question. And you know what their goal is: limit your freedom.
I just said that.
Argue that thoughtful planning today prevents more disruptive measures tomorrow. I love how they come up with these words. The translation is, they want to limit your freedom. By gradually reshaping the transportation and development patterns, they believe Massachusetts can reduce emissions without dramatic lifestyle changes. Opponents counter that history suggests incremental planning often leads to more intrusive policies down the road, especially when initial targets prove difficult to meet. What makes SB 2246 particularly significant is not what it does immediately, but what it signals about the direction of transportation policy. It reframes driving not simply as a personal choice or your freedom or economic necessity, but as a behavior the state has an interest in reducing. For some, this is a reasonable response to climate challenges. For others, it represents a shift away from the long-standing American principle that mobility equals opportunity and freedom. As the bill moves to the Senate Ways and Means Committee, lawmakers will have to grapple with these trade-offs. Climate goals, economic realities, regional disparities, and personal freedom are all a part of the equation. The debate should not be reduced to slogans or caricatures. It deserves a serious discussion about how policies designed in theory play out in daily life. Massachusetts residents should pay close attention to this legislation and other states nearby like Connecticut, New York, and New Jersey, because you know this is coming your way next. Regardless of...
Oh, hell yes, absolutely. Like I mentioned, I'm a former New York City resident at this time. Okay? So where I'm located now, in the Albany, New York area, where I'm located, I'm not even an hour away from the Massachusetts state border. Massachusetts is right next door to me, literally. So of course, it's going to come my way, okay? And in New Jersey, in this tri-state region, okay? And Connecticut, for that matter, all right?
Where they stand on climate policy, SB 2246 may not tell you how many miles you can drive today, but it helps define who gets to decide how transportation works tomorrow. In a state built on innovation and independence, the conversation matters more than ever today. If you like this video, give it a like and subscribe for more videos like this, and check out our car review channel, Car Smarts.
All right? So everything I preach, she pretty much backed up what I'm saying. You heard? And so you Jakes better specifically pay attention to this, because a whole lot of you Jakes out there love to travel. Y'all love to, take drives, to the parties, to the events, long distances, right? Being out and about all the damn time. This is going to affect you guys in a big way very, very soon. And with the combination of higher auto insurance premiums, and as far as tariffs on vehicles that drives these costs sky high, and to repair these vehicles, all these things are in a combination of lockdowns, okay? Carbon lockdowns, all right? So you Jakes better be prepared for this, because this is a form of martial law. Whether you agree with this or not, this is a specific form of martial law. And like I mentioned, this is biblical, all right? So let me pull up a couple of precepts to magnify my point. And this should be very familiar to you Jakes by now. 2nd Esdras 15:17 in the Apocrypha. And it reads, "A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able." Period. Point blank. You Jakes better get ready for this. Especially you Jakes that got that let's keep the party going mentality. It's going to stop very soon. Verse 18. "For because of their pride the cities shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid." All right? So you're going to have, again, martial law, and then you're going to have the race wars, sedition amongst men, civil war, neighbors breaking into each other's houses, spoiling each other's goods. All these things are coming down the pike. Okay? So when we get to the book of Isaiah 10:1, and this should be another familiar scripture by now. And it reads, "Woe or destruction unto them that decree unrighteous decrees." So it is our God-given right to go from point A to point B and back to point A. It is our God-given right. But in these last days, Esau, through the left-hand side of Satan, is taking that right away. So again, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that right grievousness which they have prescribed. Woo! In verse 2, "To turn aside the needy from judgment, and to take away the right from the poor of my people," which is Yasharallah, "that widows may be their prey, and that they may rob the fatherless. Woo! Yapa. Okay? So this is going to be a quick video today, but I've proven my point. Carbon lockdowns is going to come to a city or town near you. All right? So that being said, I'm going to close out this video lesson for today. And as always, hopefully Abba Ratazah, edification was brought forth. So all praises, honor, and the glory shall go to Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahushai, Ba'asham, Rakakodash, Brakatham, Kwam, Yasharala, Rise Israel. And as always, Abba Ratazah, Lord willing, on to the next video. Shalom.